Okay, so the Umbrella Academy ends on a big cliffhanger that leaves a lot of things up in the air, and throughout this video we're going to be breaking down our big theories on what the ending actually means. Obviously there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check out the full season yet, then I highly recommend that you turn off now. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, then make sure you do, as we do videos like this every day, and please drop a thumbs up if you love Klaus as much as we do. Anyway, with all that out the way, welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition. Now let's get into our Season 3 theories. Okay, so Season 2 centered around the group traveling back in time in order to avert the apocalypse. Due to number 5 being unable to master his abilities properly, the family were dropped throughout the 60s, and the entry followed him as he tried to reunite the group and stop Vanya from once more causing doomsday. After a couple of close calls, they managed to do this, and through Ben's sacrifice, the group saved the timeline, defeated the Handler, and returned to the future one day after the apocalypse. However, they quickly learned that something was off, and in the academy, they not only found a picture of Ben hanging above the fireplace, but also came across Hargreeves, who was alive and well. To make matters worse, he had formed the Sparrow Academy, which is actually the name of the 4th Umbrella Academy book, and we'll discuss how we think this plays into it all later in the video. Now, I absolutely love the way the ending shot mirrors one of the first things that we see in the season, and though the family prevented the apocalypse, it's clear there's going to be a lot more problems. Now, though they have taken some liberties, Netflix on the whole seem to be keeping things in line with the comics, and with Season 2 being so close to the second graphic novel Dallas, there are some things that we can take from this. Now, the 3rd volume of the Umbrella Academy, Hotel Oblivion, deals with the group going off and doing their own things. It's not really set up here, but they could end up pulling elements across whilst keeping the storyline sort of on its own path. In the book, there's a villain called the Murder Magician, who I think will probably pop up, and also an interdimensional prison for villains, which is where the title comes from. On the whole, it's to do with the group developing themselves, whilst the world slowly fills more and more with superpowered lunatics, and though it's an interesting premise, I'm not sure if it's enough to build a full season around. Now, these superpowered people all tie back to the 43 children that were born on the same day, and the arrival of Lila definitely teases that there's more out there like her. So there will be a lot more potential students running around, and this will likely have changed the face of the planet in several ways. That takes us to our next theory. I actually think that the original family will all have still been born in this timeline, but due to Hargreeves meeting dysfunctional versions of them in the 60s, he's decided to adopt others. Hargreeves is a really stubborn dude that values the good of the world above all else, even if it doesn't seem like he cares all that much. In the comics, when the character was questioned on why he pushed the Academy so hard, he simply stated he wanted them to be the best versions of themselves. This pressure clearly backfired though, and I think rather than seeing the fault in his actions, Hargreeves will instead just roll the dice with other children and hope for a better outcome. I really think that he just decided to pick another random 7, and as he didn't actually meet Ben in the 60s, he wouldn't have known not to pick him. So we may even potentially see a 3rd season where the members of the family end up coming face to face with versions of themselves that were not adopted by Hargreeves as children. Whilst in fiction, this normally leads to there being evil counterparts that they must fight, I actually think that it would be hilarious if the group met their alternate versions and found out they were all happy. Let's face it, Hargreeves really put them through the ringer, and he pretty much left them all with severe psychological problems, which I shouldn't really be laughing at. But I do think it would be fantastic if Klaus got to meet a version of himself that wasn't an addict and had just grown up living a really fun lifestyle. Not to say that Klaus's lifestyle wasn't fun. Now, when it comes to dynamics, Klaus probably has the most range out of all the characters, and in my opinion, this would be a really fun angle to explore. The Umbrella Academy are constantly getting kicked in the teeth, and it would add more dark humour to the show to know how good they could have had it if they'd not been forced into the lives of superheroes. That's all kind of my thoughts on how the show could be going, but as for where the family find themselves, there's a lot we can take from it. So, as mentioned, the 3rd volume is Hotel Oblivion, and the 4th is called Sparrow Academy. I think that Netflix will kinda just combine the two and deal with the Sparrow Academy and also elements of Oblivion that centre around the Hargreeves carving out their lives. This is something that has thematically been present throughout every season, and it almost runs through all of the episodes of the show. For example, the first season showed how their childhood had affected them and the lives that they'd gone on to lead because of the actions of their father. The second season dealt with them carving out new identities in the past, and thus it makes sense for this to all be brought together for a third season that deals with them having to make new lives in a timeline that isn't their own. I can see them being kicked out of the academy within the opening 20 minutes of season 3, and though Hargreeves recognised them, he clearly doesn't want anything to do with them. I think that the group landing in this timeline will discover that there are several other superpowered beings now roaming the planet, and thus the family will have to join with the Sparrow Academy in order to take them down. Or they could deal with the fact that they're now stuck in a timeline that isn't their own and have to handle their new lives. I really can't see the third season centering around them trying to fix the timeline again, as they've done this before and it failed, so I think this change will probably be permanent. I think for the most part the family will be stuck in this new world, dealing with the consequences of it, whilst still desperate to win the love of their father, who now doesn't care for them in the slightest. Because of all that they've been through, they haven't really had the opportunity to slow down and take a breather, and I think season 3 will centre around character development and what they've actually been through together. Now, one of the biggest questions you may have is, how is Hargreeves alive? Well, if you remember in the original timeline, the entire group left him except for pretty much Luther, and thus things obviously played out differently. However, the Sparrow Academy are all still there, including Ben, so it's likely that he lived a much different life. Now that doesn't mean he was happy though, and from the absence of Pogo and Grace, he probably put his all into the Academy. Grace of course discovered Hargreeves' plans in the second season, and because of her connection to Pogo, she likely took him with her, and this is why the two aren't there at the end. Now though this sucks, Pogo is still alive at the very least, because it was of course Vanya that killed him the last time around. Who knows, Hargreeves may have even taken a step back, and this is why we see Ben as the leader rather than himself. Now that of course leads us into the big elephant in the room, which is Ben being alive and also looking very emo. In the comics, Ben is called the Horror, and I just want to bring attention to his nickname, as it looks like without his family around him, the character ended up going on a darker path, and yeah, that hairstyle is not cool, mate. It kind of gave me flashbacks to when Peter Parker went all emo and put his fringe down. Scary, horror some would say. Now in the absence of Vanya, Ben is the most powerful of the group. He's able to summon tentacles from his stomach, and it pretty much looks like when Goose opens its mouth in Captain Marvel. It completely decimates anyone that even comes into close range with him, and because of this, he's very, very dangerous. This has likely made him really arrogant, and with no one like Klaus to stomp down his ego, he's likely gone on to be, well, a bit of a douche. I don't know, I've never really met the guy, just the kind of vibe I get. I think the third season will be about the Academy trying to get him to come back to the light, and they'll guide him in a new direction, all whilst righting the wrongs that caused his death. Now, we don't really know what happened to Ben or the events that caused him to die, so I think that this will give the opportunity to the show to explore this, as everything, even down to his funeral, has been teased. It opens up a wealth of possibilities, as does the other superpowered beings that now exist on Earth. Now Harlan is of course included in this, and after gaining Vanya's abilities, he went into a complete meltdown that even killed his own father. Though Vanya was able to stop his powers from consuming everything around him, we did see at the end that he still possessed certain aspects of her abilities. This was shown by him levitating what appeared to be a sparrow. Now I've kind of went back and forth on this in my head, but I think that Harlan will likely be the first superpowered being on Earth, and that he became a hero because of Vanya's example. Hargreeves may have even named the Academy after him, as he's about the right age to be someone that grew up and made their mark round about the time that the children were first born. So I definitely think that he will bear heavily over this next season, and who knows, he may even end up becoming a villain himself, as is often the case in these kinds of shows which deal with superheroes. Anyway, that's our thoughts and theories, and obviously I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and if you missed our entire season breakdown, then make sure you check it out after this. We go over all the real life events that inspired the season, the Easter eggs, things you missed, and more, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want something else to watch. Don't forget that every month on the 15th we give away free Blu-rays, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning the MCU Infinity Saga box set is leave a like and subscribe with notifications on. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat to us on our Discord server, linked in the description, or at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.